Beautiful. So, welcome everybody. I'd like to start this meeting. It's the Public and Legislative Affairs Committee of the board. It is January 12th, 2026. This is our first committee meeting of the year. And I'd love to start out with just some introductions. So, I'm Sarah Lentz. I'm chair of both the board and this committee. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'll pass it to Jane. I'm sorry if I caught you eating, Jane. And you're on mute. Sorry.
I clicked on mute, but it didn't work. Jane Sawtell, board member at large.
Beautiful. Priscilla.
Priscilla Bethencourt, making event liaison.
Beautiful. Corey.
Hello, my name is Corey Anthony, and I'm working with the SHOP grant that we'll be talking about in a little bit as a housing navigator specialist.
Beautiful. Welcome, Corey. Dr. Valenzuela.
Grace Valenzuela, Executive Director for Family and Community Engagement Partnership.
Beautiful. Board Member Noor.
Hi, Fatima Noor, School Board Member for District 4.
Beautiful. Board Member Ali Ali.
Ali Ali, District 2, School Board Member as well.
Great. And Superintendent Scallon.
Ryan Scallon, Superintendent.
Great. So we have, I think, three items on our agenda tonight. First, we're going to get an update on a housing grant that Dr. Valenzuela has been holding. And then we are going to look at the bills that are moving through the State House this week and if there's any action that we need to take on them. And then we'll end with just our schedule for the spring, looking at that to see if there's anything that we need to change or do differently. And then I wasn't sure if anybody else had anything that they wanted to make sure was on the agenda for tonight. All right, then. So I'm going to pass it to Dr. Valenzuela and her team.
Good evening, everybody. So, Corey, you want to start with the slide, at least the title page?
Sorry, give me one moment, trying to get it in here now.
So while Corey is doing that, I can do some introduction of this presentation. So we are very proud to share the impact of two critical state housing grants that have strengthened our ability, the district's ability to support students and families experiencing homelessness or at imminent risk of losing their housing. So through these grants, we have been able to provide direct assistance, case management, and rapid stabilization services that help families secure and maintain safe, stable housing. So the first grant that we got is, we call it PAP as an acronym for Preventing Homelessness Pilot. It is derived from LD 384, Student Homelessness Prevention Program, and awarded to school districts through the Maine Department of Education. So DOE leads this award. LD 384 is legislation that establishes a fund for schools to provide families at risk of losing their housing with $750 per student per year for rental help, utilities, or repairs to keep our students housed. The award has had two grant cycles starting in July 2023 and will end in March of this year. We received a total for this grant, for the two grant cycles, we received a total of 854,000. Oops, wrong. 850. Is that correct? No, I put it in the wrong number. That's not the right number. That's not the right amount. The right amount is wrong. It will be in the slide. So the second grant, we call SHOP, is from LD 747, an act to provide funds to for student to rescue student homelessness, and was awarded through Maine Housing. And the allocation for this grant from Maine Housing was $2 million, and Portland Public Schools received initially $759,670.43. The highest allocation that of the 5 school districts that received the award in February 2025. So these grants reflect the state's commitment that the Portland legislators' advocacy and Portland Public Schools resolve to remove barriers to learning and ensure that every student has the foundation needed to thrive, starting with a safe and stable place to call home. And to date, this work has supported approximately 800 families in finding and securing permanent or long-term housing. And the effects of housing stability are evident across our schools. It helps with students' emotional well-being and security, consistency in our attendance, and engagement in learning for stronger academic progress. With families experiencing reduced stress and anxiety, there is a greater stability at home. And the details of the grant implementation will be presented by Priscilla, our McKinney-Vento liaison, and Corey, our housing navigator specialist. And you want to click on the next slide, Corey? So this is just how we're going to talk about it. So I gave the background and the overview of the sources, and then we're going to quickly move to PHP, the Pilot Homeless Assistance Program. And it's just a quote that we have regarding absenteeism. Okay. Corey, next. Yeah. So this is just an overview of both grants. So FAP grant is ending 3/26, SHOP grant ending in June of 2026. So I talked about where they came from as source, and then the year and who is eligible. And for PAP, it's all PPS families, and for SHOP, it's specifically for students who are identified as McKinney-Vento and or at risk of being evicted. And then we provide in PAPs financial assistance with variety of housing and utility costs. And then in SHOP, we also are providing housing, rent, utility arrears, move-in costs, and we also are trying to put together, or we have put together educational workshops for families in helping them look for housing and landlord advocacy. And what we want to make sure is that they are empowered themselves to advocate for, themselves. So I talked about the disbursement, and in the SHOP, it's a case-by-case calculation based on what the family's rent is, what the families need for rent. So okay, and all funds are designed to support families with immediate financial needs, to prevent hardship and allowing children to be actively participating in school. And all the requests for both grants come via school social workers for confidentiality and also some support and assistance. And if we need interpretation and language support is always provided by the family and community engagement team. And I just want to highlight that in both grants, we do not directly pay families. We go through city-approved vendors. So, and there are no personal reimbursements for this, for any of our grants. Okay, Priscilla.
Yes, so FAP, which is the Pilot Homeless Assistance Program that we received in 2023 and then in 2024 again, is managed by mostly me, and then Grace approves the requests. This is the grant that allows each student to receive up to $750 per student per calendar year. So if we have a family of 4, the family can receive up to $3,000, and they can request multiple times. And the system that I created is very low barrier. It's an application through social workers that is filled with the copy of the bill that needs to be paid. That comes straight to me. I approve. I go through the documentation. Then finance department adds on munis, Grace approves, and the check gets cut within a matter of a week. The language for this grant is very open to really pay any type of bills that the families are in need. That it is considered a marquee event. So, for example, it can cover transportation, medical needs, mental health needs. But Portland Public Schools has been able to spend all their funds primarily on utility bills and rental support. We have not used this grant for transportation or other needs of the students. All PPS families are eligible for it. They do not have to be McKinney-Vento, which is the great thing about this program, because it is really accessible to all families. We have helped families that need help with security deposit, and we also help families that has a home and they can't pay their mortgage this month. So it does help a variety of families. You can, yeah. Like Grace said, all requests comes through social workers, because this way social workers are able to identify the other needs of the student. We pay directly to city vendors, so no personal reimbursement. And we ask up to 10 days, but literally it has been taking a few days. If I submit a request by Tuesday morning, we are getting the check on Thursday. So it's very quick. So far, we have 607 requests received, and they were all approved. It doesn't mean that it's 607 different families. It's 607 requests. So families may have submitted more than one requests. And I keep a spreadsheet of the leftover balance that they have, but it has been 607 requests for the entire length of the grant, which is 2 years. A lot of families are being supported by GA as well, but they can't afford to pay the remaining of their funds or utilities and things like that. Those are just some data that we were able to gather from our system. We mostly helped with rent and utilities. The 3.5% data that you see, it was 1 or 2 cases that they needed help with car maintenance and things like that, because they were providing transportation to their students due to our transportation department not being able to in the past. So that was the only time that we helped family pay for something other than rent and utility. And Corey's going to be talking about SHOP. The one thing that I want to say about FAP is that it has been a great grant so far, because of the no barriers that our staff and families has to access. We also support staff that has kids in school. So that has been a great resources that unfortunately we won't have it anymore because we ran out of funds as of this week. Go
All
ahead.
right, thank you. So on to the Student Homelessness Prevention Pilot, or the SHOP grant. This grant, as we heard before from Grace, is funded through Maine Housing, which is different than the previous one, which was Department of Ed. And so there's different requirements and steps that are necessary to go through. One thing that's important to note is that 5 districts across the state were granted funds, and Portland Public Schools received about $760,000 initially last April, and then we applied for an extension, and so we were awarded another $95,000 about until June of this year. And so again, we are looking at people who are in an emergency situation due to housing, so a true housing crisis. We're also supporting through that education, empowerment, follow-up care. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then the eligible students are being served under McKinney-Vento at this time, or the families have an eviction notice, a notice to quit right now. So it's truly that crisis situation where we are able to step in. So the grant was able to pay for some staffing. And so we have a half-time grant manager who is named Rachel, and she's not able to be here tonight, but she is our grant manager, myself as a housing navigator, and then of course Priscilla helping a lot with McKinney-Vento liaison. And then also we use the funding to contract with Project Home, which was formerly known as Quality Housing Coalition. Excuse me. And that's really vital because this partnership is super important in order to make sure that we can continue working with landlords that have already been established as cooperating with organizations such as the district and Project Home. And moving on, we have our procedures on the next slide. Again, we work through the social workers. We have kind of the staff in our school district will really start to look through the documents. So we have to do that quite a bit to make sure we have everything that we need in place to be able to successfully award any of the funding requests. Also, then, if we're looking for new housing, we're reaching out to Project Home to assist with that. And then we're also providing the follow-up support and the education pieces along the journey. So to break that down a little bit, when we first receive an application from the social worker, we look through that, we talk with the social worker, we speak with the family, and we try to figure out what really is the need. And there may be some conversations that need to be had with the landlord or with the property management and with the family. And so we're really just trying to work through how to best support the family in each unique situation. We also have had the workshops and education as part of it. Of course, the actual funding for move-in costs, security deposits, first month's rent, things of that nature, rental arrears, and we also have some settlement of utility bills in order to maintain that adequate housing. So some of our highlights, I wish we had the data from just the last week and a half, because when we came back from break, being kind of down for 2 weeks and then starting back up again was really eye-opening, because there were a lot of needs that came in just that amount of time. So take all of these numbers and add at least 10 or 15 to each one as far as what's happened since the middle of December. So again, we've had about 144 families that have applied. And that equates to about 281 Portland Public School students. Again, the percentage is going to be high of students that are McKinney-Vento because that's part of the definition, right? That's part of the eligibility for this grant is they are going to be McKinney-Vento designated, or they're going to have that eviction notice. And so then specifically when we look at the breakdown of how many families we've helped in different ways, about 63, and now again, I think we just had 5 in the last week and a half, found new housing. And so that's really excited. Many of them we supported with the move-in costs. And then many families, about 30 or so, we've helped maintain their housing by paying of the rental arrears or the utilities or the utilities. But we still do have many that are waiting housing still. So about 50 that are still, they may be in an okay place, but it's not what's deemed adequate. It's not something that they can afford to maintain. Or it might be even more difficult. They might still be in the shelter or be doubled up. And those families are still awaiting housing. When we get to the end, we'll talk about some of the lessons learned and why that is still a need so much, but we'll get there in a moment. So on the next slide, this looks at how we've grown as a grant. So starting in April, we had Priscilla. That's it. We didn't have any other staff hired yet. We hadn't started the partnership with Project Home, and we were still just trying to figure out what was going on. And so for that first quarter, the quarter 2 of the year, you can see we've spent about 22,000, whereas the next quarter we spent about 40,000 for allocation to families. And then this last quarter is 129. And actually, if we were to take this to the end of the quarter at the end of January, it would be significantly more than that. And so what we like to celebrate here is the increase of families that we've been able to help, as well as the way in which our social workers at the school level and our family engagement specialists and the principals and everybody have been able to help kind of spread the word and the power of this grant, which has really helped us reach more families and support. And so on the next slide, it just breaks down a little bit, again, as of mid-December, for those new housing opportunities. There were about 20 families that Portland Public Schools staff were able to help find and secure new housing for. 23 Project Home, 14 families just kind of found on their own. And many of those, a lot of these, but many of the ones that they found on their own are outside of our district. And that's something, again, that we'll kind of talk about at the end, is that in order to find housing that families can afford long-term and at the size that they need, many families are needing to look outside of our district, which if they're close enough, Priscilla works magic with the transportation team and still provides transportation for them to remain attending our district schools. But there's also been many that have not remained in our district. They've either left the state or have moved far enough that it makes more sense for them to attend their neighborhood school. And then we work with other agencies, right? So we're working with the shelters, we're working with Opportunity Alliance, we're working with many other organizations in town to help families the best that we can. So on the next slide, this is where we get to the lessons we are learning. And I'm going to pause and see if Grace or Priscilla want to jump in, or if they want me to continue.
I think the important thing is that we already talked about the moving outside of our city, but finding that most of the head of households are single moms. Does that something that is so the financial income, the income of the families is really by a single person. So it's important if we want to have stability in housing, we really need to make sure that they can afford the houses that we provide. And of course, this is nothing new that, there is also families with primary language, not English, at high risk of exploitation in the housing system. Um, and the most important thing is that its financial assistance is not enough. We want to and that's why we are trying to empower our families and for them to understand there's not enough housing available in Portland for all income levels, especially low income housing. Um, so, but we are now friends with a lot of landlords.
That's right. That's right. We have a few more bullet points on the next slide for lessons we are continuing to learn.
Um, and this may be not a surprise, but we are also helping our unaccompanied minors in terms of their housing need and what we want to avoid in families because they really desperately want to be important in Portland public schools, and they're moving into expensive housing that they cannot afford, and then they go back to the shelter or risk being evicted. So there's that a cycle. Um and um and everybody in the district is helping support our students and with social workers, teachers, administrators, and we are all seeing an improvement in terms of well-being of kids and families less stressed when they have stable housing. So uh, the other thing that I want to say, let me just properly conclude, and in our own reflection on the impact of these housing grant, it's life-changing, of course, for families and strengthening our attendance, our academic performance, and but I want to make sure that we understand that housing instability, especially in our city, it remains at a crisis level. And families continue to face limited availability, rising rents, and barriers that make it increasingly difficult for them to secure safe and stable homes. And that to sustain and expand the progress we have made, continued state investment and strong legislative advocacy are essential. And these grants demonstrate what is possible when we promote housing as a foundational component of student success. And by working together to champion ongoing funding and policies that address homelessness, we can ensure that every child in Maine has that stability, that ability to learn, grow, and thrive. And I just want to make sure that you understand that it's not uh you need a lot of staffing to provide this. It's an additional um uh need for if we want to create this kind of support. It's important to have that staff that stuffing. This is additional work for us, but very essential, so we do it. And we are sharing this because we want to make sure that you're aware that the advocacy is needed at the state level to renew the funding, and in terms of partnering with the city and the legislative delegation to make sure that it continues.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all of this information. I know I've got a bunch of questions, but I'd love to open it up to other board members for any questions that you might have for Dr. Valenzuela and her team here.
I forgot to say that the FAP grant, the first grant that we have is about 553,865 and 82 cents. That's a total for the 2 years that we've received. So it's about 260 a year is what we've gotten from that.
Thank you for that. I'll start with some questions and then Yeah, I also just want to like really acknowledge what you said, that like this is different work. This is like this is a whole other system that we're bringing into the system of education that we work in, because it is essential and because of our students desperately need that. Just like we work to feed them and make sure that they have food security so that they can learn, right? So I think I understand the connection. I am curious if there's any other demographic information that we could share around who is and it doesn't have to be today, but just in terms of like is it a specific grade bands, or percentage economically disadvantaged, race, ethnicity, all of those things. Like I just wonder also if we could be looking at that level of data to see, because as you've indicated, like the funding ends in June, unless we can figure out how to get it extended. So like really understanding the where the challenges are for our families, I think will be helpful. So I don't know if that's possible.
So I can jump in with that. We do have a lot of that data available at our fingertips that I can share with you later when I have that pulled up on my screen at a different time. But yeah, in the application, we ask for the student who is most closely connected with that social worker, since it's coming from a specific school. But then we also go back and look at all of the students across the schools, as well as their ages. We also know the primary language of the parents, of the family. We have that data, and we also have the ethnicity breakdown, the racial demographics. We have also noticed anecdotally, but we have not specifically collected the data, that many of the families that are having the most serious challenges also may have students who have disabilities. And so it's causing additional hurdles with finding safe places for those students. So that it might be that they're not safe on the stairs, or it might be that they can't have a door that goes right out to the parking lot, or there just might be different things that need to be taken into consideration. And we have that information as well. So yes.
Awesome. And then how does this coordinate or not with the foundation's Families in Crisis grant? And like, how do you do the traffic control around that?
That was actually the third column, but we just wanted to make sure we can present just about the grants, because those are not grants, those are donations. And so with that one, we before the new infusion of funds, we have $5,000 a month that is allocated for us to distribute with requests for, and that one is also funding for rent, but mostly a lot of it is utilities. That is
Yeah.
interesting. And so that grant is used up in the first week, is gone. So the first week of the month, because we keep consistent spreadsheet requests coming
Right.
from the social workers. So we just make those kinds of decisions, or the team. It's Melissa McStay and social workers and Maureen Clancy manage that. And with the infusion of the 120,000 funding from an anonymous donor, it's now the foundation board has increased the allotment to $7,000 a month.
I
That's
just
great. And go ahead.
want to add it that with the Family in Crisis Fund, I work really closely as well with the foundation and with SHOP. And sometimes right now, whenever we receive an application for one of the three that we believe that could fit SHOP, for example, that has more money to spend, we are sending families to apply for that program. So the three of us, the three programs are working really closely together to make sure that the request is going to the right place.
And so I guess what I'm hearing is it sounds like that there's enough demand that you kind of like separate the requests out. They're not overlapping. Is that what is correct?
Yes, and
Okay,
the demand is so high that
right.
just an
It's not enough.
example
Okay.
just this week for FAP, we have used more than 15,000 just this week. And then Family and Crisis Fund, I believe it's all gone as well for the month. And SHOP has about 15 requests that we are going to be paying this week. So winter time tends to be more requests.
And
Thank
just
you.
to add a little bit to that too is, SHOP has the most amount of money to be able to disperse to families, but we also have the tightest requirements that due to the grant requirements. And so sometimes we may have the money, but we can't work with that family. And so it's great to be able to have the family in crisis or the FAP grant to be able to be more flexible.
Awesome. And I have one more question, and then Jane will come to you. Which is, well, actually two questions, which I wasn't sure if there's anybody in the city that is in the conversations with you. Like if I could reach out to Anna Bullitt, who does the, housing and committee on the city side, but just was curious if there's anybody else in the city that is kind of in this conversation actively about this.
Well, for FAP, I can tell you that I believe every organization in the city is aware at this point. They are
Okay.
constantly reaching out to us for support as well. Like some families are approved, for example, for GA, but not for the total amount, and they may not have the rest of the fund. So they come to us so we can help that. So we are constantly working with Shelter, with John Pye right now, is very connected with us. We work along with Family Promise. We help a lot with Family Promise, Opportunity Alliance. So yes, Nicole Evers from the resettlement team is on this conversation as well. So they are all aware of SHOP and FAP.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And then so it wasn't clear to me how much is left between now and June for us to be able to spend.
For
Do
which
you have
one?
total and separately? I'm just curious, like what do we have left in this?
So for FAP, to be very honest, we don't have any more. The funds that we have left for FAP is leftover funds from other districts that did not use, and it went back to DOE, and DOE is giving it to us.
Great.
So we eventually get a couple $1,000 because the other district has not used it. So as of right now, I believe as of this week, we are done with FAP. For SHOP, do you have the amount that we have left, Corey?
I was trying to pull it up right now. It's I don't want to say the wrong number, so I'm hesitant to share completely, but we have more than the amount that we spent for fourth quarter. And prior. So with that being said, that exponential growth that I was talking about from second to third to fourth, like we are hoping that as we move into the spring that we can spend about the same amount total. So I would say about 300,000 moving forward until the end, but that's a very loose number.
That's super helpful. And if you wanted to follow up with the actual number, I would appreciate that. But that is good positioning. Board Member Sawtelle, go ahead.
I was just curious. You said I think you said there were 4 communities that got the pilot, the FAP. What are the other 3?
There are 5, Jane. So us and then Lewiston, Bath,
Let me
Oh,
just correct. Those 5 were SHOP, not FAP. FAP was distributed through the entire state of Maine. All districts had the opportunity to receive based on their number of McKinney-Vento students.
I see.
SHOP, it was 5, which was Beth, like Grace was saying, Lewiston, Portland, Sanford, and Bedford kind of united on their own.
And pilot, okay, so this is now FAP. The word
right.
pilot implies, it will be expanded if it
Yes,
works out.
that was what it was titled as that the first year, and then the legislator added another year. So it was pilot the first year, and then still they didn't change the name for the second cycle. Um, I think one of the things that is like, when we first got this award, my question is, I'm sure this you are thinking, why does a school district manage housing? Because that's not our expertise. But somehow now I understand there is some that we have a very close relationship with families. And it's a very different relationship that we have rather than going to a city, for example, or a town that is there don't have that everyday relationship with adults in our school district. So I can see, and then of course the trust, and there's stigma associated with it. That's why we are very careful in this. And I also want to say that we also have staff members who have utilized the FAP grant.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Board Member Ali. Ali, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so just a few quick questions. No, number one, I know you guys just said shop, there's FAP, there's GA. What are the other type of assistances that exist currently?
So GA is through the city, which is general assistance, right? Aside from SHOP, FAP, which I'm sorry for the names, but we had to create because they are all preventing for homeless grants.
Correct.
Um, we also have the foundation, and there are funds in the city in different organizations that they also get through the state. I think it all comes from the same pile of money. Like Opportunity Alliance have some funds. I know YMCA also have some funds, but they all have a lot of barriers to it because it's different grants. And I would have to say that the grants that we have does not have half of the barriers that other grants are having right now. So that's the good thing about it. But I
Right.
believe that is all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all the grants that I can think of it.
And
Aside
is
from
there so my thank you so much for Priscilla for that. Is there a barrier, or is there any rules for someone that needs more assistance and they want to go into shop and then FAP is available, they also go into FAP?
no, they can access both if we have available. Yes, they can access both. But really, once they are approved for SHOP, there's no need for them to access FAP because SHOP does cover way more than FAP does. FAP is only $750 per student, and SHOP, there's a calculation based on the student. So it can cover up to 6 months the rent of the family. So if the family has a rent of $3,000, we can pay up to 18,000. So we are not paying
Okay.
that amount because we are not paying that amount per family because we don't have enough funds to help to support 6 months of rent for each family. So we are really trying to stick to only the emergency needs so we can help as many families as possible. So SHOP does cover way more than FAP.
Okay, that's very helpful. Okay, so for shop, the in sticking to emergency funding and requests, that has ended, or is still just is that the one that still exists?
So it still exists, and we will
Okay.
be moving strong through June. And hopefully, if grants get extended or renewed, that could go even further. Something that I just want to clarify a little bit about too is the flexibility that SHOP has. So a situation and what we're able to fund is really dependent upon the family's needs. So it might look something like an eviction notice, and a family needs support to pay the last 2 months of rent so that they're not evicted. But in that process, we're talking to them about the fact that it's actually a little too expensive for them to maintain moving forward. So then we're using funds to support with Project Home and with us in doing more housing navigation to find a different place, so that then there's maybe some move-in costs that we can
Right.
help to get them settled to begin with. And then we find that their their electric bill has not been paid or is getting too high, and so then there's some utility support in there. So there's a mix of different needs, and then we're able to help in different ways depending on that, with the hope of being able to alleviate that moment of crisis.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you. So what is the criteria? I mean, the basic criteria, do you have to be like on food assistance, like,
Yeah, so the basic criteria for SHOP, the one that I'm talking about that still has the continued funds through June, is that the family is already identified within our system as receiving support through McKinney-Vento, which is the federal law that supports students in homelessness through the Department of Education.
okay, so they
And
have to
so
be,
there's, go ahead.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. So they have to be like applied or connected to McKinney-Vento?
Yes,
They
Okay.
have to
yes.
be
And Priscilla
identified.
can dig a little bit deeper into what that definition means.
Yes.
Yeah, they
Okay,
have
please.
to be identified as McKinney-Vento, such as they either have to be in a shelter or unsheltered, hotel, motels, or they need to be doubled up, living in shared living situations with families that are not considered adequate. So
Okay.
right now we have 464 students in PPS that are McKinney-Vento.
McKinney-Vento. Okay.
So
And aside
that's one
from
category.
McKinney-Vento, yeah, they
Oh,
can, if they have an eviction notice,
right.
that would also be eligible for the grant.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's
So
that's for SHOP, okay?
yeah,
Just to clarify.
just for shop. Thank you. So that's very helpful. So McKinney-Vento means that they are currently unhoused. Okay. So this is a lot, is clarifying a lot. Um, and I can see 144 families. I can see the data that I'm looking at right now, which is honestly, this is just really incredible. But I want to know how the families are informed. Yeah, how does information get out? And sorry, I'll turn my camera on. I've been running around.
So primarily, like Grace said, through those connections at the school level. And so the social workers, when they're, working with the families, they're able to say, this sounds like something our district could support you with. And then they help to complete the referral for any of these three programs, either SHOP, FAP, or Family in Crisis. We also have a lot of just mouth to mouth families communicating, so that we have
Yep.
then families coming into the district office seeking support.
Okay.
And so,
A lot of community engagement as well.
yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome.
absolutely. One of the organizations that we haven't mentioned that I think is worth noting is Pine Tree Legal. So we have Pine Tree Legal that will send us potential applicants. Again, Opportunity Alliance, Project Home. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many, the shelter, so many different ways for us to get connected.
Okay. No, this is good. Okay. So just a few more questions. Project Home, can you guys just give me a little brief explanation of what that? I've heard of it. I just don't really understand it.
I don't know if Grace wants to jump in with the description or if you want me to.
It used to be Quality Housing. They changed their name to Project Home, just
Mhm.
support. So that is the organization that is led by Victoria Morales. So
Yeah,
that is the organization. And they have been working in terms of housing navigation. And that's why when we wrote the grant, we partnered with them because we are, we do not have that kind of relationship with many landlords. Now we do.
good.
And
That's good.
we sort of like and right now we have been doing also workshops for our family so that then they could understand what being a tenant means, tenant rights, and all of those kinds of workshops that we're doing by language groups.
Awesome.
Uh,
Yeah, I
and
think I actually supported Pius in leading one of them in like Kennedy Park area. But anyways, continue.
right now Pine Tree Legal is going to be doing a workshop for us in
Mhm.
next month, in early February.
Okay, okay. And last question for me. The the third program, could you guys just give me a little bit of brief background on that? And
Is that
that's not with you guys. The Emergency
the Family and Crisis Fund, you
Family
think?
and Crisis Fund.
Yeah,
I
that is
think
the foundation.
Yeah, and I want to steal the thunder from Andy. I think she has a report coming up tomorrow. I see that on the agenda. So that's and besides, she has that great news of getting um new funding. But I just want to say that families in crisis got started during COVID. So, when we were doing kind of like response that families don't are now losing their jobs or they don't have food security, that funding started in COVID and then it because there's always a crisis. So we are able to the foundation has been able to work with soliciting donations from the public.
Okay. Okay, that's this is great. All right, and so okay, so what you're looking for is more of advocacy from the state. So the state is working well on providing some type of assistance or a good amount of assistance to our families that are in need, right? Do you think the state's doing well, or is there a higher need than we are currently receiving?
Well, currently, as I know, there is no legislation continuing it for the following school year. So there's needs to be something if we want to continue. So there's that. It's a moment right now when they're putting together their bills.
So
So
is it end in 26 or 27?
it's shop ends in 2026 and FOP is ending now, March
Wow, okay.
2026.
Thank you. That's all helpful.
Who are the legislators attached to the original bills? Do you know?
Oh, I knew you were gonna ask that question, and then
You can
with
follow
many.
up with me afterwards because I would love to get a conversation with them.
Yeah,
I know Brennan has been
the
involved in some points.
definitely Senator Brennan is one of the co-sponsors of the big amount of money. The shop one.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
think
so
I think FAP is also Brennan, isn't it?
yeah, but there are other people authored that, so I can't remember the names, but yeah. That I
That's yeah,
definitely yeah, we have that. I was looking
yeah.
into it,
Let's
not keep the names.
yeah, let's find that and see if we could maybe get a meeting just to explain the need that we've seen, what we've done so far, how we're being effective, and then yeah, ask for more money,
I,
especially
I
because
think what I
appropriations is happening now.
And Sarah, I think Chair Lance, the thing that I often wonder is, they this is something that you have provided, but I don't not sure all the time that they see the impact.
Oh,
And
100%.
we certainly have data to support the allocation that they provided and the intent of the
Yeah.
the legislation is, is providing the impact.
Yeah, and I think for people that aren't on the education committee, I think they often don't quite get into the weeds in the same way. And so I think I think you're right. Like being able to show impact and make a case for continued funding feels important.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would
so
also add that I think for the fact that many districts did not use their allocation, because they didn't receive a lot or because they didn't have the same amount of students that are in need as we do. It kind of like gave them the idea that maybe this was not needed. But if you really look into the big districts such as Lewiston, Portland, they Westbrook, South Portland, we all use our funds and we are in need of more. So
And
awesome.
to add to that, just with the SHOP grant, there was $2 million that was distributed by Maine Housing, but there was 4.9 million requested by 11 different school districts. So there were only the 5 that were awarded with just the 2 million. So many other districts also noticed the need for increased funding because they didn't even get to be a part of it this time. So I really do hope it's truly a pilot and that it could continue to other districts and more to us.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other questions for
This,
this team?
I think, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Grace.
I was just thinking that the other issue is that if you have a dedicated person, and if you're a small district and you are the assistant superintendent combined with the principal and you are doing all kinds of things and you are the McKinney-Veneto liaison, and you're only going to get $20,000, this is not something that you will probably prioritize, even though there is a need in your community.
Right.
So having staff is essential to addressing the issue.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. Board Member Ali, go ahead.
Just another question. If you guys do have the data, the numbers of requests compared to the numbers that have been awarded would be great. And also like any other data that you guys do have, I can give it to some of the people that I work with in the legislature, as well as some legislators that I know. So it would be very helpful and try to see if we can advocate for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you all very much for being here. I don't want to, Priscilla and Corey, if you want to, if you want to take off, please do, so you can get your rest before tomorrow. But just tremendous thanks for all that you're doing for our young people and their families. Deeply
thank
grateful.
you so much. Have a good night.
See you tomorrow.
Right. Thank you.
Beautiful. So it sounds like that there's consensus among the committee to kind of figure out who the legislators are that we should be reaching out to about these grants and just see if we can get move forward with a conversation with them. So we'll put that on the list. Dr. Scallon, go ahead.
Yeah, Chair, I would just also suggest that in our space where we're always trying to figure out which legislative priorities could potentially overlap with the city.
Yeah.
This seems like very much a obvious one.
Yeah.
And one that we should connect with the city about.
Yeah, and I'm happy to start that conversation with Councillor Bullitt because it's her committee, and then just see where we should go next. And I can also bring it up at the next city legislative meeting. They've been canceling them a lot. But the next one we can bring it up at for sure. Great point. Great. And also just like in our budget narrative, as we move through that process, like it does sound like that we are providing some services that overlap with what the city is doing. And so it just like made me curious, like, is part of the city's work happening within the district? And if so, like, what does that relationship look like? And, I just want to make sure, because I think Grace, you spoke to it so well that like we don't have transactional relationships with families. We care about families and we are in relationship with them. Not saying that the city doesn't, but that I think for a lot of families that are in PPS, they're going to come to us first. So just like what does that relationship and responsibility look like between us and the city moving forward, and how are we supporting each other in that work? Next up on the agenda, we have the bills that are coming up this week to talk about, and wanted to just share the calendar for the legislature. I'm going to share it with everyone. I'm going to put it in the chat. So the calendar, there are a couple of bills that are coming up this week that I think I just want to make sure people know are coming up. And then there's two that we can talk about whether or not we want to do anything for. So they're first on January 13th, which is tomorrow, there is a work session on the bill about allowing teachers to qualify for overtime pay. That is one that we are following and tracking and oppose, but just flagging it for folks to make sure that you know that it is coming up this week. But there's no, as in a work session, there's no way to give testimony. So it's just something that we will keep an eye on and see what happens. The next bill after that, there's another work session for LD 849, which is an act to establish a recall process for public school board members, which is one that we were also just watching. It's interesting to see the testimony that had already been given for that bill. I think some people think it's local control versus state control on that. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. The bill itself is set up to put more structure on when and how a recall process can happen. And basically, as of right now, the bill says, a school board member has to break the law essentially to be recalled, as opposed to kind of what we're seeing across the state now is people disagree philosophically and then start a recall process to get someone off the school board. So we'll just continue to watch that. There is a bill that was flagged that was not on our original list, but that I'd like to bring up for today, which is LD 2051. Which is a law that talks about anybody that is losing federal SNAP money could be eligible to get that money through the state. So I think that and that would also be inclusive of immigrants, refugees, asylees, people that are 65 plus, disabled. There's a lot of people that this would cover that I think might be important for us to think about weighing in on. Especially, I think when we made our priorities, we hadn't quite seen the impacts of all the SNAP cuts that were coming down the road. So I just wanted to bring that up today to see if folks wanted to take any action on that. Again, the bill is 2051. And I can put the bill tracker link in the chat as well. So I'd love to hear any thoughts about potential actions. It is a public hearing, so we could give testimony if we wanted. Thoughts? No thoughts?
Could you repeat when the public testimony is? I don't
Yeah.
have it on the list.
Oh, silly me.
Never mind. I do.
It's January 14th at 1 o'clock. So it'll be 2 days from now.
Okay. I do think we should do public comment on that, or
Testimony?
testimony, yes.
Yeah, I would second that. I think it doesn't have to be anything a huge piece of written testimony, but I think just something that speaks to the food insecurity that our students experience, and anything that we can do at the state level to continue with that makes sense to me. Board Member Ali, I saw you come off of mute. Was there something you wanted to add?
Not in particular. I was just trying to make sure that we were. I just didn't know exactly which one we were discussing out of the bills, but now I'm pretty sure I'm on target because it's the food security, right?
Yeah, LD 2051.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion around that bill and testimony? Okay, then all those in favor of giving testimony, I would appreciate if you raised your hand, either Zoom or otherwise. Okay, so we're going to give written testimony on that bill for Thursday of this week. Okay. Then up next after that, on the 15th, there is one work session and a public hearing. The work session is another food security bill. It's an act to enhance support of local nutrition incentive programs by modifying the eligibility requirements of the fund to address food insecurity and provide nutrition. So basically, it creates a fund that people can ask for resources, financial resources. So I think it makes sense to potentially put that on our list to continue to watch. Just because it does seem like food insecurity, along with housing, are going to be increasingly bigger needs. Sound okay to everybody? Okay. And then finally, there's a public hearing for LD 2062, which is an act to enhance the safety of public transit bus operators through the installation of vehicle security barriers. I do think that this is a newer bill from what I've been able to put together based on kind of the two student deaths that have had occurred on school buses or around school buses in the last several months. So I don't know if our transportation department has had a chance to look at this or think about financial implications, but I wanted to flag it. Superintendent Scallon, do you know if anybody has, if this has been a talking point at all in transportation?
You're sorry, I'm dealing with something in the background too. LD 2062 was the number?
2020, yeah, 2062.
I don't know, but I will ask our director
Great.
and share back with the committee.
Well, I would actually make a motion that if the transportation looks at the bill and feels like it's something that we should provide testimony on, that you move forward with that, because we won't have another meeting before it goes to public hearing. Would there be a second on that motion? Okay, thank you. Oh, that was good job on the hands, everyone. So all those in favor of asking transportation to look at this bill and then move forward with testimony, great. Okay, perfect. So those are the only bills that are coming up in the next week that are either on our bill tracker or seem relevant to kind of needs for our district. I realized though that as the session gets going, our meeting schedule is not, because they only put out the weekly schedule of the bills. And so I just wanted to bring that up to see what solution we might be able to come up with on that, because I'm just not sure. I don't know if we wanted to add an additional meeting of this committee that would be a shorter meeting, like a 30 minutes to an hour each week, instead of one long meeting, just to make sure that we are catching the bills, I could continue to track them online, or if somebody else wanted to help with that, and then like alert the committee, but we just like couldn't really make decisions about what we're testifying on outside of this meeting. So I'd love to see what people think about that.
I had a question. Would we have to do full votes for the testimony? Sorry, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so then I would not mind another meeting.
I'm
Awesome.
I'm kind of confused about the question. Is it a single meeting or we're gonna do like what's the request?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking for that. So it would be that we would add an additional meeting on the weeks where we do not currently have committee
Okay, yeah.
meetings. So while session is in session.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that as well. But can we make sure like there's not the whole hour and a half? Hope if we can cut it down.
Yes, I would love 30 minutes, unless it needs to go longer. Is there a time of day that works best for folks? Do you want to keep the same time? I mean, I don't know if folks have availability to do earlier in the day. I might prefer that.
I mean, I think it'd be for me. It's if consistency really helps, so I would say the same time.
Okay.
Agreed. I can't do earlier on certain days, but I could try to be flexible, I think on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But every other day this time is perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Jane, are you okay with 7:30s on Mondays? No, you're not okay with that. You have band practice on 7:30s on Mondays.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm happy to check in, in other ways, but no, on Mondays and Tuesdays are my off weeks. I'm pretty committed.
What about is 6 p.m. instead of 7:30?
Uh, on Mondays I can do 6 p.m. I just would be at Gorham High School.
from 6 to 6:30. Could
So,
you do 6 to 6:30?
yep.
Okay. Superintendent Scallon and Dr. Valenzuela, 6 to 6:30 on Monday nights. Is that possible to have one or both of you?
Yeah.
Every other Monday night, right?
Every other Monday night. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so let's add those moving forward until session is over.
And so at 6 to 6:30, every Monday that there is not a committee meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
The standing agenda for those will just be to like forecast for the next week's legislative sessions or public hearings, whatever the words are. Great. Okay, so just to recap, you're going to take that bill to the transportation department, decide if you need to do testimony on that, and then do testimony on the SNAP legislation, written testimony, and submit that.
Yes, and can I just ask a clarifying, since this is the first time we're really going through this process?
Yeah.
Can we get guidance on whose name you would like the testimony to be under? Would you like it to be under the Portland Public School Board of Education Public and Legislative Affairs Committee? Would you like it to be under chair, under superintendent? What would you like it to be under?
Does anyone have a reaction to that? I think it makes sense. Oh, go ahead, Ali.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate just to have it for our committee because we're speaking on behalf of the committee. We can be speaking on behalf of the board, but I mean we do make decisions on it, but I would say committee.
Yep. Do you think that it could be like speaking as the committee on behalf of the district? Or do you think it's just stopping at the committee?
I mean, it's pretty much like we're speaking on behalf of the district because we are the committee, you know what I'm saying? So however we want to word it, but like this is a representation of this.
Yep. That makes sense to me. Does that feel clear? Great. Okay. So then we just had one more item, which was the spring schedule. I don't know, Dr. Valenzuela, if you want to talk us through that. And I know we talked a little bit about this before, but oh, you're on mute.
I actually reviewed reviewed our last meeting, and the task was to make sure that the meetings don't happen on the weeks that you're already booked, so that then you're not out every night. And so I made sure that the schedule that I have, and Dr. Scanlon, could you share that? Um, uh, that is, it's not, it's going to be avoiding those weeks. The other challenge in creating the schedule is that Ramadan is in the month of February and March. And
Oh,
so there is that challenge as
yeah.
well. And at the same time, parent-teacher conferences. So what I you there was something about having virtual sessions um during to do a day period of around as well. So I've attempted to put together here. So Woodford's Club, that's confirmed. So for March 17th, same time that we had last time, with the interpretation is available at that time for 10 to 12. And then I have a virtual session that I attempted to schedule during lunch break. So if people are working, they can listen to it and participate during their lunchtime. Because this is virtual, I put it only as an hour session. And then the rest, the other in-person one is an hour and a half that I have. And um, so I have TBC is to be confirmed. We have made the request, but we have not gotten confirmation. So we have one on at Ocean, 6 to 7:30, and the rest are also 6 to 7:30, and the other one is at Lincoln. These are schools that I find are more centrally located, and then another, we were surprised about the attendance at the United Way, so I scheduled something as well for that day, for that location, I mean. So this still is within, so the superintendent will present his budget on the first, I think, March, the week before this. So we have, after the budget presentation, then you have this week, um, 17 and 18, and then there is another meeting, and then you have 26 and 31st. That's on the same, these are all almost on the same week.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions or feedback on this schedule?
So the other thing I want to say is that while it is Ramadan, still Ramadan on the 17th and 18th. These are during the day, so it's
Yeah.
not at sundown, sunset. So I think we're sort of safe around that time.
Okay.
And there's
Okay.
also some days that week that school students are out. So that's another challenge in finding a schedule within the time frame that we have given. Because so that's sort of like what I have.
And is it specifically, I'm sorry for jumping in, but is it specifically different subjects per every session, or is it just the reason why it's because of the accessibility needs?
Yeah, it's mostly the same. So we will have like a standard set of slides and information that we want to deliver at each of them, but then we open it up to questions and concerns from the audience. So everyone is a little bit different, but the kind of like the framework is the same, and the information we're trying to get out to the public is the same.
Okay. And then are these calendar invites going to be sent to us? Because I just want to, I don't think I want to keep track of.
Yes, they will get sent to you once this gets finalized.
Cool, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, this looks great to me. I also do appreciate the extra like 30 minutes at the in the evening sessions because I think we end up using that anyway. So yeah, I'm happy to just like block that time. Great. And I'm so glad that it's already, look, we got the schedule done already. That's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Valenzuela.
And I think I just want to make sure that I will add, send back I'll have Kate share that schedule that we had for fall because it has the schedule of student already. The I think most principals
Oh,
except for one have scheduled their time already for student this conversations.
perfect. And Superintendent, you're sharing your screen. Great. Okay.
And Chair Lance, I put the who's the sponsors on the chat, just in case.
I caught them. I grabbed them and I put them into a Word document so that I can follow up with these folks afterwards and just see what they think we should do. Beautiful. Well, does anybody else have anything for tonight? Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Noor. All those in favor? Great. So we are adjourned at 8:52 p.m. And I will see you all tomorrow. Take good care.